So now let's move on to Newegg. And like I said, this one's going to be a doozy. So let me just give you the top level on this, and then we'll dig into the details. So basically what's happened is Newegg has handed over sales data to the state of Connecticut dating back to 2014. That means if you live in Connecticut, as I do, and purchased anything from Newegg from 2014 to the present, they have exported their sales data, the things that you bought, and handed it over to a government agency without a subpoena, without a warrant, with nothing other than a letter that the State Department of Revenue Services sent to them asking for that information. So let that sink in for a minute, and then we're going to look at what Newegg told their customers and what the truth really was. Now, this all began yesterday when I got this letter in the mail over the weekend from my State Department of Revenue Services saying that I owed about $300 or so in back use taxes for items that I purchased from Newegg in the years 2014, 2015, and 2016. And it also indicated that Newegg has provided the Department of Revenue Services records of my online purchases during this period of time. Now, let's get one thing out of the way up front here. If you buy something here in the United States from an online retailer that doesn't charge you sales tax, in most states, you are still responsible for paying that tax after the fact. In a personal filer situation, you usually tack it on to your tax return at the end of the year. Companies who do collect sales tax can also report use taxes during the time that they make their regular sales tax filing. That's what I do for the LLC that I set up for this company. And what happened here is about half of these purchases were made on behalf of my former employer, basically, because I was buying things for my IT work on my company credit card on my Newegg account just for expediency's sake. I think many of you who have worked in small or medium-sized businesses know it's a pain and a you-know-what to go and set up a new account with some company, so you just go ahead and put it on the credit card and let the accounting department know it's coming through, and that's what I did. So I don't know if they paid the use tax on it or not during that period of time. I'd have to check with the accountants there. I still have, obviously, contacts with my old employment there, but I have no idea. So what I'm going to be doing here is paying this tax bill in full just to get this off my back here and be in compliance. It's probably likely that I didn't tell my own accountant at the end of the year that I had made some purchases at Newegg, and therefore I am liable for this tax under law. I'm not going to be complaining about that. I will pay my taxes, and I'm grateful that they are waiving the penalty if I get it into them next week, which is what I'll be doing. But this is really about what Newegg has told Connecticut customers and what the actual reality is in regards to how they treated our private data, which is things that we bought from them on their website over this 3-year period. So let's take a look at what Newegg sent to me on February 23rd. This letter came in yesterday, which was March 3rd here in Connecticut. So this email came out around the same time these letters started coming out from the Department of Revenue Services. Now, what they said in this email to me is that a recent Connecticut law requires Newegg to disclose the amount you spent with us in these tax years. And if you're somebody reading this, you might figure, yeah, you know, the state's going through some tough times. They keep making new laws to try to collect sales taxes from companies out of state. Maybe it's understandable that they passed some law to do that. But the reality is they didn't pass any law. This is pure BS. And here you can get it right from the horse's mouth here. So there's an Hartford Courant article on February 15th that I'll link to down below there. And they quote the Commissioner of Revenue Services here in Connecticut, Kevin Sullivan, who said, "Usually we don't have the data, but in several cases, companies have said we'll squeal on our customers and you can beat up on them. The people who sold to them have ratted them out." In other words, there was no law requiring Newegg to turn over this personal information to the state government. They just did it so they didn't have to deal with the state taxing authority, and probably figured the number of customers impacted is probably going to be pretty low. The impact on their business versus fighting this wasn't worth it, so they'll just sell you down the river to a state authority here without any kind of subpoena, warrant, or anything else, just a letter. And you can take a look at that article to check it out. Now, what's interesting is that in this Hartford Courant article, they quoted a Newegg customer. I think it was in this article or a television story that appeared around the same time. Newegg hadn't even notified customers before these letters started showing up. So they didn't even tell people that they were doing this. And it looks like perhaps this media coverage or maybe some customer outrage led Newegg to actually disclose to customers that their private information was given to the government. But that is what happened there. I didn't get a copy of the letter from the state to Newegg at the time that I was recording this video, but I did find a still grab here from a Channel 8 story here in Connecticut. This is WTNH-TV. And what they are quoting here are some regulations that apply to companies that are located in Connecticut or have a physical nexus in Connecticut. That's what these statutes refer to. But really, Newegg could have fought this. And the only demand here was this highlighted section here. They're asking for this information. And what they gave the companies, though, was a choice. They could either send the records in, or they could start collecting Connecticut sales tax, and they would look the other way on all the past purchases. And it looks like Newegg decided we're not going to collect sales tax because we don't want to deal with that. So we're just going to turn over our customer data so that it doesn't get more difficult for us to do business, which is basically what they decided to do here. So if you are a Newegg customer, they were given a choice to make their business maybe a little more difficult, maybe do what Amazon and everyone else has started to do and collect sales tax, but they chose not to. It was easier just to give your information away without any kind of a fight and get themselves to continue doing whatever they've been doing here. So this is really pretty scary to me, actually, that they would give up money so easily. And it's even crazier, too, when you think about the fact that Newegg has never shied away from litigation when they felt they were in the right or they felt they had a reason to fight something. And there's nothing better to show you exactly what they used to do than this Ars Technica article about how they went after patent trolls, even after those patent trolls dropped cases against Newegg. This usually involved e-commerce patents and stuff that many online retailers would just pay to get these patent holders off their back. Newegg would always fight them. They were not afraid of litigation. And in fact, in this article, they pushed even more litigation to defend their interests. But when it comes to defending the interests of their customers and their private data, they could just tell you to pound sand, which is exactly what they did here. So my advice to all of you on this is that today it's Connecticut, tomorrow it's going to be some other state. I would strongly urge you to just stop doing business with Newegg if you care about your privacy. I don't think it is appropriate for a company just to hand over data to the government without any kind of subpoena or warrant requesting that. And although people are due, to pay this tax, it's the law, the fact is Newegg could have fought harder to defend their customers' private information and chose not to in the interests of their own business over the interests of their customers. And if that doesn't tell you what the values of a company are, I don't know what is. I did reach out to Newegg to ask them what exactly they turned over to the state government. I also reached out to the Department of Revenue Services here in Connecticut and asked them the same question. So hopefully I'll figure out exactly what data was sent to the State Department. I'm assuming it's going to be your name, your address, perhaps the shipping address of the items that were sent, and the amounts. I don't know if they'll give the actual item data to the state, but we'll find out, and I'll get back to you on that when I get information about it. Newegg has not been responding to any other press inquiries in the state, so I don't anticipate hearing from them, but again, I'll be back with a video midweek if I do get some information for all of you.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters of the Black Eyed and Blues Music Hour podcast: Chris Allegretta, Gerard Newberg, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.